What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's Deal Breakdown. I'm your host, Greg Helbeck. And if you're new to the channel, if you get value from the video today, if you can like the video and subscribe to my channel, it would really help me out. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers in the next 3 months. And the best way to do that is to, quite frankly, subscribe. If you're watching this on social media, if you can share this post and like the post, I know that you got value from it and other people can see it. So if you're not familiar with me, I've bought well over 100 houses, and today I'm going to talk about a real estate deal that I did in Spring Valley, California. This property is a little bit old, but there's some good lessons on here, so I figured it'd be a good deal to share. So 8989 Lamar Street in Spring Valley. I remember the lead came in back in the summer of 2020. And the lead didn't seem all that great. You know, the seller was pretty adamant on his price. But once I realized the price he was asking, I was like, whoa, this might be a deal. So long story short, the seller lived on Catalina Island, and he had this investment property down in Spring Valley, which is a little bit of a dicey area in San Diego County. But there's a lot of investor activity. So he told me what he wanted for the property. He was like, I want to sell for $300K. Long story short, he had like one tenant living in the front unit, and then in the back unit, it was totally vacant, or the upstairs unit was vacant. So I immediately looked online and I was like, oh, this seems like it could make sense. So I ended up meeting him out at the property, and we just got to know each other a little bit. I met the tenant, who was a little suspect, to say the least, and I was like, I think this is a deal at 300 grand. So anyway, locked up the house. I actually mailed him the contract to Catalina Island, and he mailed me back the contract, so that was pretty funny. He wasn't like cool to use DocuSign. So I got the contract, and this is where I really think the video will add a lot of value. Is I didn't really have a good buyer's list at the time. So I didn't know what to do. I was like, I think I got a deal, but I don't know if it's a deal. I didn't really know that many people back then. So I went on PropStream, and I found this other investor who bought a property down the street. He actually lived in my neighborhood, like in my zip code. So he lived right by me, basically. He wasn't my actual neighbor. But I said, hey, I saw you bought this investment property. You want to come look at this one? It's right down the road. He's like, yeah, sure. So he met me there, and he was a little bit of a rough, gruff guy, and he offered me like $30,000 less than what I was under contract for. And immediately I was like, oh no, this might not be a deal. Holy shit, this is not good. So I got all nervous, and I was like, woof, this isn't good. So I ended up making a fake book. It basically is fake book nowadays, but I made a Facebook post, and I said, hey, I have a duplex. I'm under contract on in Spring Valley. This is in a San Diego Facebook group. I got a duplex. I'm looking to sell it right away. If you're interested, reach out. I had like 70 people respond with their email address. Sent out the deal, and literally 2 hours later, I had the property sold for a $40,000 profit. Literally signed the deal on the hood of the buyer's truck, in the hood, if you get the joke, on the hood, in the hood. And sold it right away for a $40,000 profit. I honestly think I probably left some money on the table, but I don't really give a shit because it was like my first big assignment in California. And I said, hey, screw it, whatever. It is what it is. I definitely left some money on the table, but I really don't care. I actually love when the buyers, might get a better deal, because that means they're going to make more money. So anyway, long story short, sold the thing for a $40K profit without a lot of resistance at all. It was an easy, smooth transaction. The thing closed like 4 weeks later, and it was all said and done. So what are some lessons that you can learn from this deal that you can use in your business, whether you're starting or whether you're growing? Lesson number one: don't rely on one buyer. If I were to take that one buyer who lowballed me, if I took his word seriously, I would have tried to cancel that deal, which would have been a shame, because if I had that thing now in 2022, I would have made probably 120 on it. But hey, you live and you learn. But anyway, don't take your one buyer's word for anything. This one guy, like I said, found him on PropStream, didn't know him from a hole in the wall. He lowballed me, and the deal made no sense. When I actually got, the property in front of real buyers, the actual buyer for this property, Ben and Dan, good guys, good friends of mine, they gave me exactly what I wanted. We did the deal, easy, simple, no bullshit, and it was a smooth transaction. So you got to get your property in front of a lot of people. That's the point of this. You got to get your property in front of many people. You can't just show it to one buyer unless you have some sort of working relationship with them, and it's like a really hairy scenario where you can't get inside. That's a different story. But that's thing number one. And then thing number two is that I've said this before, and I'll say it again, especially in crazy expensive markets, you don't need to deal with a distressed seller, right? I don't think I've ever seen a distressed seller in Southern California where they were truly distressed. Some of them have like a fucked up house, but they're never distressed. So this seller had a property that needed work. It had some deferred maintenance, but he wasn't a motivated seller. He had a good asking price. He had a reasonable asking price. He knew he was leaving some money on the table, but he quite frankly didn't give a shit. He still got $300,000 for a freaking house in a, dicey area. So you don't need to look for these desperate people. They don't really exist. I mean, especially in SoCal or in the Hudson Valley, it's very rare you find people like that. So focus on knowing your market and focus on knowing what a deal is. Like, I knew that this was probably a deal at 300. It ended up being a great deal. But don't just chase distressed sellers around, because you're not going to find that many of them, especially in Southern Cal. So if the number makes sense and the seller's committed to selling, you can get a lot of that. You can get the deal done. So make sure that you're not just looking for these unicorn motivated sellers, because they're very hard to find nowadays. And then the last thing I would say is that this deal came from a text message marketing campaign. So texting gets a lot of heat, and I understand why. It is getting harder to do, but we still, to this day, this is April 14th, 2022, we are still bringing in deals on a consistent basis from text message marketing. So this guy got a text. I think his response to the text was, "I want 300 for it." And I was like, "Oh shit, this might be a deal." So do whatever it takes to get leads in the door. If you don't have a lot of money, if you're brand new, texting isn't terribly expensive, so it can certainly get you leads on the cheap. You're going to have to talk to more people, and yeah, you might run into a unicorn like this once in a while, but you got to be consistently out there marketing. If I were to send 3,000 text messages, I wouldn't have gotten this deal. I think by the time this deal came around, we were probably 40 or 50,000 text messages into our campaign. So hopefully you learned some lessons from this deal breakdown. And if you're out there, if you're in the Hudson Valley or you're in Southern California and you want to partner with me, you want me to buy your deals, or you want to JV with them on a wholesale basis, hit me up, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com. If you're watching on YouTube, give me a like, and most importantly, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. If you're on social media, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, like the video, share it with some other people, and I will see you on the next one.